conversation
This,
going.
this is Angie Ami. I have a question. Wonderful readings of just love the poetry I've read so far. It's great to hear your explanations of it. I was wondering if you could share just a little bit about your writing process. And I know that a lot of this came out during the pandemic and being shut down, and maybe kind of talk a little bit about your inspiration and kind of how it became to fruition and how that process kind of worked for you.
So this kind of, thank you for the question. This just validates that idea of divine timing. I mean, I've been writing poetry my whole life, but they were fine. They weren't moving me. And then something about last year, everything coming together, the suffering of COVID. I was also going through some personal like suffering at work, and then other things like social unrest. So much going on. And then out of that, I was led to the world of art. So I took this whole artist way journey, and that's like just recognizing the artistic side in me. And then somehow I was led to the world of spirituality, and then that brought more, like I had lots of questions, I got answers, and then that wove itself out through poetry. Because I don't know about you, but words get too jarring at times, but poetry has that rhythm, and poetry can take us places where words can't. And so then I was just inspired. Like every moment, my process is my phone. I have my notes pad. At several times in the moment I have a certain idea, I just start writing, and then it turns into poetry. I can also be doing that in the shower. I did consider getting this thing on Amazon where you can stick the thing in the shower and you can write as you are taking the shower. But I think I haven't gotten to that extreme yet. But yes, I have written like maybe 5-6 poems a day sometimes, and sometimes nothing. But even that, remember, everything is grist for the mill. So there could be like a whole week where I didn't get anything. Then I would get all worried about it, and then I would write a poem about having my writer's block and being frustrated about that. So everything has been this conscious process of staying connected, inviting the divine to reveal itself, having these conversations. And then I founded a poetry group on Facebook. So that the idea was the courage, the cur in courage. So like coming from that heartfulness space. A lot of people started with the David White poet, and so we formed a group together. So now it's grown to some 500 people. So posting that leading to other places has kept me in my bubble of poetry, art, and little by little, like that whole palette of regular conversation has shifted into this sort of artistic side, and which I feel like each of us have, but the regular world, just the day-to-day world of paying bills and everything, makes us forget that. And so I've been so blessed that the divine timing has brought all of those elements together, and then now it's become a call of how I can pay it back into the place that I got it all from.
Thank you. Great answer.
Yes. Any other questions? Were there questions in the chat box?
I don't have a question. I mean, this is Linda.
Linda, yes.
Hi. Hi
there. Your voice. Oh, there you are. Okay, yes.
Yes, I'm in my little box.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to say to you, I love your photography, your hand drawing. I think you're so connected through visual art and then also the written word. I think it's so deep, and you are showing so self-confidence in yourself. And I just want you never, ever to doubt anything ever again.
Thank you so much, Linda, Reverend Linda. These are my partners and co-creators from the spiritual community. So
I think everything you said was absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm so happy for you.
Oh, well, for us, right? Like it's I feel like it's not really for me. Like it's what I can do with this gift. Like it's just, yeah, it's not like a self-indulgence.
And I didn't realize you were giving the proceeds to charity, which I think is just another extension of who you are. You're just magnificent.
Well, thank you. I just, I've received so much. So,
Hi, it's Elizabeth. I had a question about where you received that inspiration. I know that when we've been on walks, you'll stop. We'll be in the middle of something and you'll stop and you'll see something, and so do you consciously make sure that you're looking up and looking at things, or is it just part of who you are now, that you're just taking inspiration from nature and that you're just paying attention on so many levels, and that is part of what you draw in and inspires you?
yeah, I definitely think it's a circulatory process. I am putting myself conscious. Actually, ironically, it all started at the top of the pandemic. The one day I was like, I wrote a poem about, I hear the bird outside. I'm going to take myself on a walk, and then I started to write about everything I can expect to see on that walk. That was my very first poem. And then that was a very stressful time, thinking like we don't know what's going to evolve. But when I went on the walk, I started to notice all these beautiful little things, a little petal on the water, or something or the other. And so what has happened is, I don't always have all the answers. I don't know what, there are many days, many moments I feel just constricted and frustrated. But what I have committed to doing is putting myself in the path of being in that process of inquiry, of feeling, of sensing, of noticing, and all of gratitude, of just feeling grateful for the littlest things. And when I do, I have a lot more to be grateful for, because things just show up. Like if I'm thinking I'm feeling unsteady, I look at the bridge. Liz, you remember? I looked at the bridge, the East Wall Bridge, and there it looked, looming large and strong and steady, not wavered by any of the winds of of anything. And so I feel this is the process of circulation. I'm thinking something, I'm putting myself on the path, and then divine spirits or whatever it is out there is coming back with the answers. So yeah, the law of circulation, as they say in Science of Mind. I'm a good student, right, Reverend Kathleen?
So we also have another question from one of the attendees, Denise. So for Dr. Shah, when one's way of being seem to bring constant conflict with the outside world, how does one balance the tension between understanding if the source of conflict comes from within oneself, or whether the outside world, others, is to blame since there is evil out there?
Okay, wait, that's a deep question. Let me parse it. When one's way of being seems to bring constant conflict with the outside world, how does one balance the tension between understanding if the source of conflict comes from within oneself, or whether the outside world, others, is to blame since there is evil out there? This was a deep question. I had a really serious conversation about this with Reverend Kathleen the day Black Lives Matter and all of that unfolded, that no matter how much we transform ourselves, there is truly bad stuff happening, and we want to, we're called to activism and do something, get as angry, and other people get angry at us if we're not mad enough. And I didn't want to be in that energy, so I don't want to blame other people. I want to love them, but I can't love the action. So how do you come back to your home? How do you still home to your heart, and how do you put down your shields? So through many conversations, Jenny, thanks to you too, I took on just practicing this one principle, that everyone is off the hook. I don't have expectations from other people. It's not their duty to make me happy. It's not their duty to understand me. It's mine to come into my flow state and my divine self. That doesn't mean I am that doesn't mean I can't have boundaries. It doesn't mean that I have to do something that's bad for me, but I've been honing my intuition a lot more. And so, so Denise, um, I would say to begin with, if there is conflict with the outside world, I think there is that means there's conflict in the inner world. And so the job first is to start calming down that inner world, like being out in nature, doing things that noticing, like gratitude, noticing things. That's why I chose these poems. Also surrendering, noticing that there is divine timing in some of the things that you're upset about. Relationships that you feel like need to be at a different place, or people need to be at a different place, or all of those things. There are outside things. That's not where the answer is. The answer is always inside. So how can we get to that place of peace, non-attachment, like still being in this world, but still being able to love other people? And if that means sometimes you have to take a break from everyone and go do your own thing, be chill, that's fine, because sometimes it just gets too murky to live with others and then find ourselves, because there are habits of thought and we get caught up in that dynamic. So finding a way to separate from that, finding a way to do things that please us, the arts, the theater, painting, dancing, praying, dancing in the rain, I don't know, like whatever, walking in the rain, noticing the snowflakes. Yesterday I wrote a poem about the snowflake, like be like a snowflake. That's not an insult. That's actually a beautiful thing. And so like just noticing more, that just fills you up with so much vibrational good energy, that then, again, from that space of gratitude and abundance, you have no issues with anyone. You can start to lose those barriers around your heart. And then when you're in that, the tension and the conflict starts going down. You can live and let live with other people. And from there, we can have better solutions and better conversations. We can listen to other people, and a better chance of solving problems than trying to win that argument or defend ourselves or protect ourselves. That only goes so far. So Denise, does that answer your question? Is she here? I don't see her.
He says in the chat, thank you, Ami.
Okay.
We also had another audience member ask, will we be seeing a volume 2 next year?
Well, I could have volume 4 going on right now. I don't know. There's so many things, but I'm trying to. The next one was going to be about poetry itself, like the sensuality of words. But I don't know. I'm still feeling called to keeping on the spiritual quest. So it may be that, like this year, I think. I've got enough written up. So yes.
Hi, Ami, it's Angie again. I promise I won't pepper you with too many questions.
Oh, it's fine.
I love asking questions.
Yes.
What did you have either a favorite section of the book or favorite poem that you have personally, and why?
Oh man.
My cat wants to know too, if you heard him in the background.
I did pick, that's why I picked these 9 poems that I thought would be are like my favorites, but they're also different, that it's hard to pick. It's like each one just says one piece, so I feel like I don't know which one I would pick, but I would say Rise Above is one of my favorites. I do like On the Tip of the Needle, like I like Believe.
The Tip of the Needle, that's one of my favorites too. I was just about to say that. That's one of my favorites.
Well, that would be the better question. I would love to know what you guys think is your favorite. What
I like Tip of the Needle. I think because to me it kind of, it's a great message of stop kind of talking yourself out of things. I talk myself out of things sometimes, or if I get a thought, instantly things come to mind of why it won't work or why it won't happen. Or saying, so I'll do that later. And so I like tip of the needle. It's kind of like, no, just don't think too much about it, act. And so I really like that one.
Great, thank you for that insight. That's you got it right on. Any others that, what about other favorites? Love to hear from you guys. Emily, you also said something yesterday. You can say that.
Yes, my favorite personally. So when I was talking to Dr. Shah when we were going through all of the events of tonight, my favorite at first was the poem about gratitude. And I think it's so important to exercise gratitude in our everyday lives as things become very mundane, especially since the beginning of the pandemic. And I've always thought gratitude is like one of my most favorite things to practice to kind of give myself a kickstart on like new, invigorating energy. But after Dr. Shah introduced me to the Divine Timing poem, that one really resonated with me in the sense that a lot of times as humans, we have this false sense of control over relationships that we can't control, situations, people. And I just absolutely loved your work in that one. It really stuck with me. And I think all of these messages, no matter, I think if someone really loves poetry and engages with it a lot versus if you don't really have much familiarity with it, I think that these pieces are so integral in like gaining such a profound message from all of the unrest we've experienced at this time. So I think there's a lot to be learned from reading that poem.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Incredible. Dr. Shah really has some incredible work that she's given to the community.
Thank you. I've written all of them as like a memo to self, like pretty much like this is an important lesson. I got to remember it. And so if it becomes a poem, I can go back to it. And so then when they are, then I can give it to other people. So yeah. Others, how have you been? Yes, Reverend Kathleen.
Well, one of my favorites is because I love the title of it, is From Wobbly to Wong Tong.
Yes.
I remember when you first, sent that to me. It just really caught my attention.
Okay, great. Yeah, I like that one too. It's a little long, but yes. Do you want to share about how you've been using the book? Like some of the feedback I've been getting from people, like just writing, is like some people read the book at night, and it helps them fall asleep with good thoughts, like good subconscious. Some people have been reading it to their kids, explaining it to them. So they can have a nice dinner conversation around things. So different things have come up in different ways. I'd love to hear what some of you have been doing with it. Irina, yes, great to see you. Yeah.
Good to see you. Well, first, I just wanted to say that thank you for launching your book. It's a very valuable, spiritual, inspiring piece of literature as far as I'm concerned. And I jotted some notes so that I don't forget what I want to say. But essentially what touched me was the fact that this is a journey to self-discovery. And it's a very personal journey that I felt as I was going through different sections that you organized in your book. There's a lot of vulnerability that you're sharing with the world. And at the same time, that is exactly what touches people and shows them how you can go from loss to sadness to something neutral to better, and then inspiration and ultimately gratitude, which helps you and sustains you in life. And I also thought that it's a path to autonomy and harmony within yourself. It's the inner peace that everybody is looking for, and it's very hard to achieve unless you get certain level of understanding of gratitude, and to overcome it is very hard. And you can see how there's this evolvement and development of that in the book, and it's incredibly inspiring, especially the last few sections that really give you very positive, inspiring messages. And it's like a synthesis or a synergy, I should say, of mind and soul. Mind would be your words, and soul would be your heart. And the fact that it's combined here in such a beautiful, inspiring way is gold, is the bottom line. So, and I do think it's somewhat therapeutic because, and I think these explanations that you've provided before reading are crucial, critical. I think everybody needs to know about it before they read, because it will give you some foundation of why they're reading. It becomes that much more meaningful, and I think it's a healing book of a healer. Heal yourself and you heal others by sharing. So I just wanted to say thank you. Wonderful book.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that recreation. I did want that context to be there around each poem, but that would have delayed the book a lot longer. So I figured I'll just put it out there and see however it goes. But my second tier to handling that is I'm going to do video recordings of me explaining this and reading the poem, put it on my YouTube channel. So you're welcome to follow that. It'll be on my Instagram as well. And then, so that would be a way to, anchor the thinking behind. There's two pieces. There's just you just listen and feel good. That's fine. But I have a bigger interest in this. I want the things to actually apply and stick. There are really good lessons that I was fortunate enough to get from these books I read and spiritual classes I took and so on. So when each of these poems, like, they occurred as a flash of inspiration in one moment, but then it doesn't always stay that way. Next time I read that poem, it feels good, but I don't always get the same value until I go back and apply that idea. So I could read it and I could be like, oh yeah, I get gratitude is great. But to really take that flight on gratitude, I got to actually do the practice and really go and, feel grateful, like actually take the steps. So that would be my invitation to you guys too. Like, as you're reading, you could just read at that surface level and feel good. And some days that's all we can handle. And some days, if you really want to shift your energy, you can take on each of these as an actual lesson and apply it and challenge yourself and see what lies on the other side. It can really be powerful and revelatory. So, yeah. Okay.
Yes. So we've had another comment from Denise. She also just wanted to say that your insights and wisdom ring so true and tap into the teachings of other spiritual traditions. She also wanted to mention, for example, that what you say is reminding her much of the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi, or the words traditionally ascribed to him, which begins, "Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace," especially the part that goes, "Let me not strive so much to be understood as to understand."
Yes, definitely. And that's why we want to separate religion from spirituality, because religion gets us in this arguments around the right terminology and all of that. But spirituality is really, all of the religions are pretty much saying the same. Like, there is that higher mystical place that is our best self, and what's out there is inside, and we can find that place. And it's like, love your neighbor as yourself and all of that good stuff. So, right? I don't know, I might be misquoting it. I'm not religious, so I don't know my religious quotes, but I do know the truth behind each of those things. And I can say that they are pretty similar across the board. I don't want to be reductionist and say, okay, that, that's all there is. But sometimes we make it too complex, and the truth can be very simple.
Yes.
So, Virgil wanted me to read Claiming Your Inheritance. Do you want me to do that? Or I'd love to, of course, continue hearing what audience has to say, but, your call. We are doing great on time. I don't want to let you go yet. Okay. Yes?
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you decide what you want to put into the book? Like, out of, so many poems, right? How did you figure out what went into this particular first one?
You know, normally I would have spent days agonizing over that. And then, like, again, divine timing, the spirit working through me. It happened in a flash. Like, I was sending out my PDF to one of the publishers for reviewing. And then as I started to do that, I was like, this is a mess. There's so much. I want to organize this in a way that someone can read. So I started to put it in themes and categorize it. And then as I did, it just started to weave itself, like, you know, there was a continuity from one to the other. And so I decided I'm going to go with these 4 sections. So if you don't have the book, you know, there's the raw suffering is the first section, and then stepping into the light, and then like bringing in the tools ultimately as your final distinctions. There are 4 sections basically. 3 of them are about letting that light in and playing with that light, and then really becoming that light. So then the poems pretty much organize themselves at that point. Now the question is, what am I going to do with newer poems since then? Because they some of them do belong in those themes, and some of them are different themes that are related. But I just feel like they are even more powerful than the ones before. So I don't know. I'm going to figure that out later. Stephanie, you had a question, or you were raising your hand? I don't know. Who's here from my, yeah, Shaya. Shaya, yeah.
Just another quick question about your process. Do you find that you can just like sit down and like the flow just goes and that's it? Or do you find that you do a lot of review and editing and things like that?
You know, who's here from my poetry groups? I don't know. You guys will hate me saying this, but I don't like to do that. Too much of wordsmithing, it's like it ruins it. It makes it too mechanical. So I'm like, whatever first came through me, I'll go and fix some grammar and, you know, like move something to the next line, the flow, the break, but line breaks. But other than that, like I said, I start writing. I don't even type it or write it on paper. I write it on my notes page, the app in the phone, and then it just it's line to line, and it just keeps going. So then I don't feel the need to edit it, because then I don't want to ruin something that was like authentic about that moment.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Maggie, you're getting ready.
Hi. Yeah. I have a question. So
Yeah.
actually, I was reading your book, right? And then there's like a few poems that I enjoy. So you can see, like, I don't know if you can see that I folded down the pages at the corner of the book. So, but anyway, interesting that the first 2 poems that you read, you know, I had the 2 pages folded down. So that's one of my favorites. But I also like the pictures with the swan, and also the wine glass. How did you decide to put those pictures in there? And then also, when I started reading this, you said to approach the book like this. It's broken up into 4 sections, 4 themes: part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. So I read it like as if I'm reading a book from like beginning to end. But I'm deep into part 4, and up to like I finished with the bridge from fear to art. But then I'm just wondering how best to approach reading the poems in your book. Like, I think there's so many interpretation, right, when you read a poem. So I guess when I start looking into your book again, I would pick a poem like maybe section 4. To me, it was more positivity and affirmations, and you know, I enjoy reading that part. So how would you best approach?
Yeah, so I did not want to overwork this and make this such a formula and framework and all of that takes away from the the connection of someone, you know, from an intuitive perspective. So what I would suggest is you see what mood you're in. Like if you feel like right now I'm just tired and I can't think anymore, can't do anymore, you can pick up the book on the section, the first theme about the raw suffering, and see which of those poems just kind of speak to you. You know, either just open like they do with tarot cards. You know, you just open and see, open that section, and whichever poem opens, you know, it's meant for you. That's one
Yeah.
way. Or look at the table of content and see what title in that section appeals to you. So I would start there, and then once you're in that right mindset, then you can keep going, or you can, if it's not speaking to you, then go to the whole different theme, because you have to find the resonance in that moment for yourself.
Right. That works. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great question. Yeah, you guys asking really good questions, deep questions. Yeah, so the poems I read were all from the latter sections, all like good spiritual lessons and all. But then we don't want to forget about the human side of some things. Some days we just don't feel all that great, and that's okay too. We don't have to be like you know, our best selves at all times. There's a reason why we're human beings and not God. And so we want to live the human lessons, and some days it's worth acknowledging what we're feeling and not bypass. In our spiritual community, we call that spiritual bypass. So if you're feeling angry, you want to really get into that juicy side of anger for a little while. You don't want to stay there too long. And then you have acknowledged your feelings, you've validated yourself, you've ascertained what your needs are. Then you can provide those needs to yourself. You don't have to go to someone else for that. And then you can be complete and, ready to be back into the flow again. But if we bypass all that, then we just sound like sorry to say, but all those holier than thou religious people who are like going around, or new age people, like, who are giving the nice buzz of terminology, like, oh, you're feeling this and I'm feeling this, but they're not really digging into what to do about that. And then, we just get academic about it. And yeah, so we don't want to do that. We really want to do the hard work and feel the angst and feel the pain. So it was a bit, I did struggle with, like, do I want to put my raw angst in my very first book out for the world to see? Literally get like vulnerable and naked out there, right? But I felt like it is an acknowledgement. It's kind of like taking this, it's powerful when you do that. It's you're stepping into your own power. Also, it does a service to other people when you can, in whatever field of work you're in, when you come from that space of authenticity, other people can relate to you better than you trying to be perfect and looking like you've got it all handled, and inside you feel like a raw mess, And this is why I feel like my 19-year-old students, or, I won't say how old I am if my students are here, we are similar in that sense. It's all our journey. And we want to be honest about that. Just because we're teachers, or just because we're like psychologists or clinical experts, doesn't mean we're any better than the other person. And therein is the golden juice, like that is the part about going home, because we have that shared authenticity. I found again and again, I get the best connections with my clinical clients, with my students, with some of my hard-edged colleagues, when I'm coming from that place of authenticity and not from that place of ego and looking good, and I want to show you how smart I am and how much I've gotten everything done. That only serves so far. I don't feel so great when I'm doing that. But this other place of admitting the vulnerability, that takes us further. It's not something we're trained to do. I had to learn the long, hard way, because when you get to a certain age and a certain successful point in your career, you're supposed to have it all figured out and not look like, a fuse waiting to explode. But let's face it, that's going to be our human side, and it's okay to say it and share it.
I have a question again.
Yes.
How do you get the words out on the book, like in terms of, marketing or advertising, like how do you, let people know that you have this book?
When you say you, the royal you, me, or you, who are you talking about?
Like you as in, yes.
The author.
Right.
How do I get the word out?
Mhm.
Clearly, you know, I have not done much research. For me, my goal was really to just get my words out there and not get caught up, because that would have slowed me down. If I worried about how am I going to market this, that's why I even took out. I don't want any payment out of this. It's not really about me. I'm not part of this. So you know, whoever the book is meant to go will reach by word of mouth. I'm going to let my intuition guide me. I'm going to step up in places that call to me, you know, like a lot of my different groups that I'm in. They know about it. They invite me. They spread the word. They ask me to do other things. And I think that's the co-creative process. It's going to be fun to see how different circles, you know, that I come in contact with, that we connect, and then they take that and they take it forward and they do something else with it. You know, it may not be the book, but something in the book, one line, like that line from Rumi, the ocean in the whole ocean, you know, in a drop. That spoke to me so much that it opened up so much else for me. So if my poems can do that for someone, like one line that can open up some whole different way of, like, maybe they're a better physician because of that, or they're a better social worker because of that, then my purpose is done, you know. And that's much bigger than like how many books I'm going to sell, or, you know, how many likes I'm going to get on Instagram, or, you know, I just feel like I don't want to be in that busy work, you know. I'm going to have some accounts and people can find me. Like they've been trying to add, like, I found like people have been, I don't know how they've been how have they been finding me? Yesterday, a lady contacted me from Netherlands, day before, like for someone from South Africa. Like, so people are finding this, and I'm just gonna let that, you know, happen however it happens, in whatever. If it dies, if the buzz dies tomorrow, so be it. I'll be off into another adventure, but you know, I'll listen to my intuition and see whatever I'm called to.
Ami, Vic and I just want to thank you for a treasured evening with you and your communities, and for the inspiration and love that you're sharing. And we're so appreciative of your support of St. Jude. It's one of our favorites as well. But the richness here this evening in the conversation and your poetry, I'd love to hear you read one more before we close out personally.
We
but
can't personally give you the flowers, but we got you flowers.
Thank you. I love that.
So we love you and thank you for just a delightful evening.
Thank you. I think, like you said best, it was a conversation, and it happened because everybody showed up with all your different perspectives, asked you beautiful questions, and let me received whatever I had to share. I'm by no means an expert in any of this, so it's pretty raw, and you received it with the trust, so I appreciate that. Well, let's see. I'm going to read something.
Yay!
How about I read something not from this book, but something I just wrote recently? Is that better? Like coming attractions, right? Future attractions.
Even better.
Okay, all right. Okay, so you have a choice. It's being snowflakes or poetry is surely a woman. Number one or number two?
Poetry is surely a woman.
All right, we're switching gears. Very different. Okay. Poetry is surely a woman, for she cannot be rushed. Her mood is mercurial. Her spirit is firm. Her knowing is innate, connected to the source. She is Gaia epitomized, profoundly connected with nature's spells, beautiful, charming, softly rounded curves, sometimes witty, sometimes irreverent, sometimes sugar and sometimes spice, but always unpredictable. Her flow is mesmerizing, her softness is tantalizing, her whims can be our undoing. Her whims can be our undoing, her wisdom can be so liberating. Longing for her can leave men parched. Her rain can revive a desert. Her eyes are windows to the beauty of the world, her heart full verdant, abundant with Spirit's grace. She brings all the joy and inspiration to life, for without her, words would crawl, not dance with abandon. She adds sweetness to living and romance to loving. She is a gypsy, a wandering, sauntering adventurer. She is a witch, haunting the dreams. She is devilry dressed in innocence. Unraveling in moods, her message is cryptic. Her pouting can be artistic. Her absence apocalyptic. Her presence linguistic. Poetry is surely a woman, for she can send us to ruin, just as well raise us to riches. Peace out. Thank you. That was just from
That was
yesterday.
lovely.
That was powerful, very powerful.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel the love. So you guys are keeping me inspired. I feel like there is this is not just some kind of craziness, but there's some purpose out there. So yeah.
Your official launch.
I am officially launched. That's right. Yeah, where's the champagne? Okay, I didn't have it. But yes, thank you. So yeah, so I guess we can start wrapping up. If you guys have further questions or comments or feedback, I'd love to hear from you. You know, as things evolve, you know, as you apply things, you can certainly email me. Emily can post both mine and her email address here. Remember about the bookmarks. If you want a signed bookmark, you know, we just ask for your mailing address, which I will not use beyond this purpose. Will not be spamming you with anything. And yeah, it was just my gift for you know, yeah, you know, for what. So that's it. Yeah.
I have one question. I'm so sorry I came late. I apologize. So if you answered this already, but will you be making a recording of the book so that we could have them all in your voice?
The whole book, I don't know. That might take a while, but I'll be doing little videos along the way, you know, to like kind of like an explainer video. You know, I'll explain the context of the poem, and then I'll read the poem and I'll post it on. There are 2 that I have on YouTube currently, and I'll just keep adding more to that. I can post that in my Instagram page. So far, those are the 2 places I'll be doing. Over time, it can be, you know, in other places as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, Ami, do you mind if I share, you know, your link with everybody on social media in terms of, you know, how to get it on Amazon?
Oh yeah, sure. Yes.
Okay, that's
Go
good.
ahead. Yes. Yeah. No. Feel free to spread the word, spread the love. You know, it's us doing something together, and because when you share it, it's going to come from your own vision and what you want to see from your own circles. So do whatever you want with it. You know, just attribute the credit somewhere, so it's not just getting kind of bastardized out there. Which, you know, even that, I'm giving up the control and attachment. Whatever is meant to happen is meant to happen. So feel free to share. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for being here. This was really, truly a joy. I will see you all. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Ami. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Much
Good
love.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Love you, Ami. Thank you.
Jenny.
It was beautiful.
Thank you. See you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night. Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Good night. Thank you. It was wonderful. Beautiful.
Yes, great to see you. Good night.
So uplifting.
Good to see you.
Nice job. I was